Welcome to Proverbs 31 Creatives. My name is Brianna Coleman. I'm so excited for this new chapter in my walk with the Lord. My goal with this podcast is to encourage other women to grow their creativity, entrepreneurship, finances, life, health, and most importantly, grow closer to Jesus. I'll be having conversations with guests with anointed women in faith and learning right along with you. Are you ready to start your journey to become the creative Proverbs 31 woman you've always wanted to be? All right, let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Proverbs 31 Creatives. I'm your host, Brianna Coleman. How are we doing? Happy Friday. I feel like I haven't talked to you guys in so long because we had our two last episodes were guest episodes. And I'm so grateful that Latoya and Judith were both able to come on, pour into you guys. They shared so much insight, and I'm so grateful that I can call them friends now. And they are truly just incredible women for the kingdom of God. And that probably will not be the last time that you see them on the podcast. So definitely they are welcome back anytime. Go support them. If you are single, go grab Judith's marriage playbook, and then make sure you go grab Latoya's book. So such great resources, such incredible women of God. But I am so excited to talk to you guys today. I feel like the Lord knew the timing of everything, that I genuinely needed those last 2 weeks of guest episodes to truly just dive in and just spend more than normal time with the Lord. I feel like lately I have just been going through it, if I'm going to be just blatantly honest, going through it business-wise, and I just needed to spend time with the Lord. I don't know about you and how the Lord has been working with you, but I know for me in my life, He really is truly taking me through each one of these themes that we are having for the month. Like, okay, we are going to have this theme and this is what we're going to be prioritizing. And I feel like the Lord kind of, I don't know if He leads me through it before I talk to you guys about it so I can properly talk about it. I'm not sure what in the world's going on. I still am praying for clarification on that because I am currently living out what our March theme is going to be. And that's what today's episode is going to be, is talking about the March theme. But before we dive into March, how did we do with February? Did we like the reflection questions? How are we doing with loving relationships? Did we go on the solo date with Jesus? Where are we at with that? Really reflect and replay February. By the time this episode does come out, it is the last day of February. But of course, spend time in the reflection questions. Go on your solo date with Jesus. Tell somebody you love about Jesus. Spend time with your loved ones. Really just go all out for the community that is in your life, your inner circle. Show them how much you love them and show them the love of Jesus. And now on to March. For March, our theme for this month is healthy stewardship, based off of Proverbs 31, verse 26. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. So the Lord really ministered to me through this verse, and it shows a couple things. Number one, it shows that she was given spiritual wisdom to first even consider buying the field. She saw it was an asset and knew that it could provide profit, knew that it could provide income for her family. Number two, she used her gifts of entrepreneurship. And I say gifts because it definitely is a gift and it's a muscle. It's something that you definitely have to work at. I feel like it's a discipline, it's a muscle that you really have to work. You have to be able to work hard to be an entrepreneur. And I feel like sometimes we are sold, and unfortunately I did this myself. When I was in network marketing, I would try to sell this dream of being your own boss, of being an entrepreneur, of having the flexible schedule, working whenever, wherever you want, working in your PJs, working on a beach somewhere. If I'm going to be so real, and I feel like I'm just going to keep saying that because that's just how I am. It's just a brutally honest, no fluff, just cut to the chase kind of person. Entrepreneurship is anything but that. It's a discipline. You have to make your own schedule. You have to be your own boss. You have to also be the accounting, the marketing team. You have to, like, you have so much going on. And so it is definitely, it takes the grace of the Lord in order to be an entrepreneur, and really just leaning on him and relying on his strength and not your own. And that genuinely is the only way some days I get through it. And then this last part of that verse, she stewards the profits well. She took the money that she made, the profits that she made, and turned around and then put it back into something that could then provide more value, provide more income. So took the ROI, took the return on investment, and then put it into something that could then bring more profits, bring more income. And so she was smart with her money. She was able to think like a businesswoman. And that's what I'm really just going to dive into today is number one, and I have two parts. Number one, healthy stewardship is a muscle and a discipline. And number two, are you preparing for what you are praying for? So for number one, healthy stewardship is a muscle and a discipline. I kind of feel like this is something that I hinted at in past episodes, specifically the senioritis episode. I feel like I have had senioritis in my current season since probably about November. God released to me my next business, company, whatever you want to call it, this past September. He gave me the name, brand colors, the launch date, who I'm going to work with, so much revelation. Like it is, I can just picture it. I can see it. I can taste it. Like it's so vivid and visible to me. But then I go and I look at my surroundings, my current circumstances, where I'm at in business right now. And I go and compare that with where I'm going and where the Lord is calling me next to. Looking and standing in my current season has just been so hard because I just want to be obedient with where the Lord is taking me next. I have learned to worship him in the hallway, as they say, because I'm not exactly where he's taking me yet, but I also don't want to lose sight at where I'm currently sitting. I'm currently living in a season that I once prayed so hard for. I have a business that I'm falling in love with all over again. I'm living in a construction zone of a house, but it's a house that we prayed for years. You guys saw me, if you watched on YouTube or heard me, whatever, when I talked about the financial stewardship episode, I think it was like back in October, which by the way, if you have not listened to that episode, go listen to that. That is my testimony when the Lord helped me pay off almost $20,000 worth of debt. But during that episode, I literally get a text. It was so full circle. It was only the Lord. I get a text from my realtor that we were basically accepted. They accepted our offer. And so I think it was like we were the only offer, or they were about to get back to us, or something significant. I can't remember what exactly it was, but it was something along those lines. But I broke down when I got that text because a house was something that we have prayed for since literally, I'd probably say like 2023, and it's now 2025. Yes, this season has been very difficult, but I'm living in answered prayers. Sometimes we pray so hard to get out of situations, and we don't steward those seasons well. But those are the exact seasons that the Lord wants to use to teach us something, to train us up, to help us build that stewardship muscle. These are the seasons that he wants to develop us into the character, into the woman that we're supposed to be. No season is wasted when it's offered up to the Lord, when you lay it down at the feet of Jesus. Maybe sometimes we ask the wrong questions, and I'm even talking to myself right now. Maybe it's not, God, get me out of this season, but it's instead, God, what are you trying to show me in this season? What am I supposed to learn before that door shuts and that door opens? And that's what I say, praising him in the hallway, because you're literally in the hallway between two doors. One's shutting and one's opening. I wholeheartedly believe that there are testimonies, books that need to be written, people that you need to meet, all through learning healthy stewardships. These difficult seasons are what is, I always say I'm writing chapters in my book because I believe I am going to write a book one day, and I'm just writing chapters in my book. Reading a book of an easy life isn't entertaining. So I always say I'm just writing chapters in my book. And then number 2, am I preparing for what I am praying for? And obviously I say because I'm talking to myself, but I'll rephrase. Are you preparing for what you're praying for? You're praying for a God-sized dream that you know He asked you to do, that He laid on your heart. But are you also stepping out in faith and preparing for what you're asking for? I know I've heard it a couple times where couples, husband and wives that are asking for a baby, that are praying for a baby, that are trying to conceive, they start building out a nursery. They have a room in their house where they build out a nursery. I believe Brittany Dawn, if you're familiar, she's a Christian content creator. She and her and her husband did that. They were praying for a baby for years, and they finally just built out their nursery. They had everything ready to go for this baby that they prayed for. And now she's pregnant years later. So that's a great example of preparing for what you're praying for. But are you obtaining the skill sets that you are needing for this answered prayer? Are you making room for your answered prayer? Like I just talked about with the nursery. Are you developing the necessary skills, mindset, and character to be able to receive and handle the answered prayer when it comes? And that was such a gut check for me because I was talking to my husband. I said, I know that if the thing that I'm praying for, if it were to drop in my lap tomorrow, I would not be able to handle it. My discipline is not 100% where it needs to be. It's getting there, but it's not 100%. My time management is getting there, but it's not where it needs to be. Some of these characteristics, I know I have. I've spent a lot of time with the Lord developing these. Others, not so much. I know I need to be better at time management. I know I need to be better at discipline. And so really ask yourself. For instance, for me, that's going to include waking up to an alarm clock, making sure I get my workouts in, stewarding my schedule and my calendar correctly, and finding time wasters. And I've already talked about this before about scrolling on my phone. And I was hesitant to even talk about this because I feel like in the church, talking about like spirits and oppression and that kind of thing can get a little taboo. And so I was really hesitant about talking about this. But if you really want to get to the root of it, especially with time wasters, toxic habits, things like that, and if you're listening to this podcast, I believe you want to get to the root of it. You are a spirit-filled believer and you believe in the spiritual realm. The spiritual realm is so real. It's more real than you listening to this podcast, more real, and me talking. But I was listening to a sermon and a pastor was talking about the cankerworm spirit. And I am going to be real honest, I have never heard of this. Which, if you're not familiar, a cankerworm, I knew what a cankerworm was, but I never kind of like put it together. I never knew this was a thing. And yes, this is in the Bible. And I just looked it up because I did want to provide biblical backing to this. The cankerworm, I couldn't remember if it was where it was, but the cankerworm, it's in the book of Joel. So Joel 1, chapter 1, and Joel chapter 2. Joel 2:25, and I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, the cankerworm, the caterpillar, and the palmer worm. And so basically it just goes back to devastation. It goes back to destruction. And I just quickly Googled. In the Bible, a cankerworm is a symbol of divine retribution and the consequences of disobedience to God. It is also a reference to a larval stage of a locust. So many times we hear that the Lord will restore everything. I've even heard I haven't heard cankerworm before, but I definitely have heard like locusts in the Bible and being destructive, and how the locusts would eat the fields and how the Lord would restore everything, like that kind of thing. And so it's a similar concept. But these cankerworms, what I found really interesting is that these cankerworms destroy plants and the strongest of trees. And what's really interesting is that these cankerworms move in a looping motion. And so when I read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, these destructive habits, these destructive cycles, these destructive, all these different things, that it's the same thing. It's a looping motion. And that's how they take down the strongest of trees, is simply just moving in a circle. And so, for instance, destructive habits like scrolling on social media or watching Netflix for hours. Scrolling on social media has been such a destructive habit of mine that I have carried for years. It sucks up my time, and when I'm done scrolling, I feel exhausted, depleted, scatterbrained when I originally went on there to scroll for entertainment or looking for entertainment. I was really honest with myself to my friend, and I'm like, look, like, I'm not addicted to pornography. I don't drink. I don't smoke weed, but I scroll on my phone. And so I prayed this over myself, and I broke oppression by the cankerworm spirit off of me. And I have experienced such freedom since then. My screen time has gone way down. Obviously, it's not 100% because social media is my job. However, I don't feel as attached to my phone as before I prayed that over myself. So I encourage you to pray that over yourself, even if it's something that you struggle, something that is wasting your time that you struggle with. I pray that over you right now, that would just be broken off of you. Something that is simply just wasting your time in the things that are not propelling you forward. So here are some action items for this month's theme. Number one, set a stewardship goal for your time, finances, or health, and track your progress. Number two, declutter and reorganize your home, finances, and schedule to reflect your priorities. Number three, evaluate your spending habits and adjust where they are needed. And number four, plan and prep nutritious meals to steward your health wisely. As Proverbs 31 creatives, as daughters of the Lord gave us all of our creative abilities, and He didn't expect us to ignore it or suppress it. He just asks that we steward it correctly, steward it to give Him glory. And I'm going to give you some tough love right now that you probably need to hear, because I know I needed to hear it this past week. You don't have permission to give up. The God-given dream that the Lord has asked you to do, has asked you to steward, it might seem impossible, but just know with Him, it is already done. He just needs you to move and act accordingly to be able to steward this well. And I am going to talk to the girls who are entrepreneurs, who don't have a boss, who work for themselves, who are building a business, who are freelancing, all that kind of stuff. I just want to talk to you for a second, because this is where I messed up in network marketing. And I wish that I was really young and didn't have a relationship with the Lord. And so I felt like I had to go to the world to learn how to steward things correctly. But you do not have to sin. You do not have to manifest. You do not have to visualize. You do not have to do worldly things in order to steward this thing correctly. Build your God-sized dream through prayer, fasting, getting alone with the Lord. Ask Him, how can I better steward what you have given me? Simply ask Him, how can I better steward this correctly? And I know majority of this episode, I've talked about stewarding your time and that kind of thing and your business. But this can also apply to every area of your life, your health, your finances, your relationships. If you go back and look at the verse for this month, she stewards her money correctly. And that's why I mentioned going back and listening to my episode. And I did just look it up. I released it on October 18th. Stewarding money correctly is something that I struggled with for a very long time. I would buy things off of like Fashion Nova, Shein, all these different websites. I would literally just buy things just to either impress people on social media or my friend circle. I have this video and I don't know if I should show it because it's embarrassing. I'm going to be honest with you. I spent like $200 on Shein bathing suits. And if you know how cheap those are, I literally had my whole living room was just like covered in Shein bathing suit packages. I think I had like 25 bathing suits. Like it was insane. I had bathing suits for 2 years with tags on them because either they didn't fit and I didn't take them back, or I didn't like the way that they looked on me and I didn't take them back. But I was so proud of my collection of bathing suits. But I also was drowning in debt and was crying because I couldn't pay my car payment. So it was just a very bad time. I just was making really immature decisions. And yes, it does come with maturity, but that also comes with knowledge of Jesus and wanting to do better in life and not spending stupid money on bathing suits or clothes or makeup. Like we live in such a overconsumption generation, and I really am just trying to be a minimalist. I love to go on BidFTA. If you guys are familiar, it's like my new favorite thing. It's not in every state, but I know it's in Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee. I don't know what other states it's got like maybe 10 states that it's in BidFTA. It's great. Look and see if your state is on BidFTA, if there's something that's close to you, because that's how I have been able to get office supplies, get things for the house, that kind of thing, and things that we actually need. There's a difference between buying things that you need versus buying things that you want. And so definitely just go back, listen to that episode. I go into things that really helped me steward my money well, like the wants list. I still use the wants list. It's great. Basically, and I'll just tell you right now, it's essentially anytime I want something, I put it on the list. I put it in a note in my phone, and it literally is titled wants list. Let's put it like this. I have had a Ninja Creamy on this list for 3 years, and I refuse to buy it for myself. Why? Because I just have other things that I prioritize other than a Ninja Creamy. So that I know for a fact is one of the items on my list. Other than that, there's so much on there that as time goes by, I either forget about it, I don't end up buying it. Like months go by and I look back at the list. I'm like, that was stupid. Why do I even want that? And I cross it off. I am so out of sight, out of mind. So even if I buy something, it'll make me excited for like an hour and then I'm done with it. So I just forget about it. So definitely, like I said, go back, listen to it. I talk a lot more in depth about money and finances and all that kind of stuff. And then some reflection questions for the month of March. And of course, I will put these on the Proverbs 31 Creatives Instagram. I hope you guys are liking the format that I've been doing these. I'm trying to keep up with a theme. But number 1, what habits or routines help me stay disciplined and intentional with my time? Number 2, what areas of my life need more intentionality or self-control? Number 3, how can I make healthier choices that honor God with my physical well-being? Number 4, what gifts or talents has God given me and am I using them for His glory? So again, I will have those posted so you guys can journal with them. But before I close out the episode, I did just want to bring some exciting updates for the podcast. Number 1, I am currently in the process of revamping the Facebook group, and I will let you guys know when that goes live. So we are going to have a Facebook group. We're going to get to know each other. We're going to link arms. I would love to do a Bible study, something where we can get to know each other. Eventually, like I said, there's going to be worship nights hosted. There's going to be all the things. So I'm really excited for this next phase of the community and growing with you guys. Number 2, I did end up launching a Substack account, and I am releasing weekly newsletters on Mondays. I will include the link for that in the show notes, as well as the link in bio on the Instagram page. And then number 3, if you are a business owner, whether that's like a small business or you are a solopreneur or you're a freelancer, something like that, if you are looking for social media management, if you are looking for virtual assistant services, I have revamped basically my whole business structure to be able to take on clients that are not local to Cincinnati. So before I was just prioritizing local clients to Cincinnati. But if you are not local, I have restructured everything to where I can start to take on clients that are not local. So if that is you and you are looking for either social media management, virtual assistant, something along those lines, I would love to work with you. I would love to help you. The Google form to apply or inquire is in the show notes as well. And then I will also have it on the podcast Instagram page. Feel free. You can also reach out to my personal Instagram, which is at its Brie, Bri Coleman, Coleman. Or feel free, you can send me an email at bcvisualsolutions.co@gmail.com. So I love you guys. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your week, a great weekend. At the time of recording this, it is 60 degrees in Cincinnati, and it feels like a spring day. Blue and I have already gone out on 2 walks so far, so I would like to open up my windows in my office. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you guys soon. I hope this episode blessed you today. If it did, please rate and review the show. It helps grow the podcast to reach more Proverbs 31 creatives just like you. Don't forget to follow the show so you'll automatically be notified when the next episode drops. I'll be praying for you. See you next week.